What's going on, everybody? Chris here. I'm out in my shop getting ready to work on a project. Gina and I have been talking about theming out Harrison's bedroom, and we're thinking, let's do Adventureland from Disneyland theme. Ooh. So we have a lot of really cool ideas. The last few times that we've visited the park, we've taken footage and lots of pictures and stuff. There's just so many things, we just got to narrow it down. And one of the ways of doing that is that I'm just looking around at kind of what stuff we have already available to us, because if we can do this without spending a lot of money, that would be perfect. Today I'm going to focus on lighting. One of the things I really like about Adventureland is when you first go in to the entrance there where the Tiki Room is and the Dole Whip stand, there are a bunch of skulls on poles which fit right in with our kind of thinking of where we're going with this. I love the masks and the shields and the paintings and the colors, and they have some really cool, unique looking lights. Now I know that you could probably go online and buy these lights, but hey, what would be the fun in that? And besides, I have so much junk laying around, I think I can make this stuff. I'm not going to be able to make it exactly like what they have, but I'm going to be able to get pretty darn close, and it's going to be fun. So let me show you guys what I got, and let's get started. After searching for a lot of this stuff in a plethora of tubs that were stacked up in the garage, I do have several of these jelly jar light fixtures. They're real cheap. I bet those things are probably like $8 or at least under $10 or so at the store. I wish that it was open on both ends. I don't even know if they make those. I'm sure they do, but what I'm thinking about doing is cutting a hole in this. We have so many of these gas lanterns. Now, a lot of these we used in our western town, or we've used in graveyard scenes and stuff. And over the years, the glass on them has broken from the wind knocking them over, or me knocking them over. You can imagine, though, you start getting a pile of this stuff. And what I'm thinking is, if I can take this stuff apart, kind of combine it together, I should be able to make something similar to what they have at the park. Let's tear these things apart and see what we can do. What I like about a lot of the lights in Adventureland is that they have that real old light look. So I'll just go ahead and do the best I can with combining some of these pieces and seeing what we can come up with. Since this light that I'm going to be working on is hanging, I've got the wires going out the top. Now the next thing to do is to try to drill this hole in this jelly jar. Here's one of those happy accidents. I just love that happens, but I went into my hole saws and I had a hole saw that'll cut glass, and it just happens to be the exact size I need. Woohoo! I wish I was cool enough to have like a whole set of these, but I don't. I just have like 2 random ones. My plan is to cut a hole big enough for that top to go on this side, which is normally the bottom, and then that way my new bottom is open and I'll be able to screw and unscrew different types of light bulbs in there really easily without taking this fixture all apart. Hopefully I can do this without breaking and chipping it. I'm gonna squirt some water in there, keep it cool. I think that this is going to be the bottom, like I said before. I've got to cut the bottom out and then cut another hole right here using a hole saw. I'll have to go through and fill these 3 holes up with some Bondo once I get a little farther along. But basically this is going to sit inside there and shine light through the bottom. Then this piece right here, I will cut a hole right here, probably pop these apart if I can. It will go on the top just like this, and then this guy I'll just cap it over on the top. I was thinking about trying to flatten out this bar and using this little steel bar, but I went on the side yard here and I found this scrap piece. I think what I'm going to do though is cut little sections of this and put some bends on it, and it will be the protector that covers this glass portion, and that'll really give it the look that I'm going for, to try to match what Disneyland has going on. So the next thing to do is to draw my circles, try to use hole saws where I can. The rest of the time I'll use cut-off wheels and sanding drums to get those holes cleaned out as best as possible. So on the tops I just drilled a large hole there and then stuck a rubber grommet in there so that the electrical cord that goes through to the light fixture doesn't get cut. I used a cutoff wheel on my grinder to cut these little bars. They're like about 7 inches long, and I think what I'm going to do is bend the top ½ inch slightly, and then bend a 90 at the bottom. I'm also going to put a slight curve in the center, and then I'll put it into the top and the bottom, and then lock it into place by bending the 2 ends. I had this scrap piece of wood that I had cut a circle on. Just basically will center this on here, give myself my 6 lines. Just gonna kind of split the difference and drill right in the center of the arches on the top and bottom. The stuff is so thin, you put any amount of pressure on it and it's like woo-wee. And then I'll go back through with a little sanding drum and just kind of take out any of the sharp edges. Alright, so while the paint is drying over there, I went ahead and rounded up some more things for the rest of this project. This long post right here is actually left over from when we did the little mini golf project. That's going to be our upright. I also have a shorter post right here that's left over from our Western town years ago when we did it. And it's really aged and stuff, and it'll be perfect. I'm not too worried about this hole because I'm going to be wrapping rope around it. To attach each lantern to the post, the idea is I'm going to take some of this scrap flat stock that I have, drill a couple holes on the ends, and then attach it like that. And then what I'm going to do is take this rope and just wrap it around like they've got it at Disneyland. Originally I was thinking I was going to use like a pipe or something, but I think this is going to work out a lot better and be a little more sturdier. I can just lag it right through there. I think they have it like a couple different lengths. So like this side's real short and this one's a little bit longer. The other thing I gotta do too is I'm gonna find some paint. The one that I'm trying to match actually has like a giraffe pattern painted on the post. There's also zebra. I'm sure there's a couple other ones. One thing I was thinking about doing that's really cool is at Disney World in their Adventureland entrance, they've got some posts that have some actual carved out designs, and then those are all painted really nice. But I'm gonna do it the Disneyland entrance way because it's a little easier and I feel like slacking. We actually have a little cubby down here of skulls. This is our little go-to for skull storage. So I think what I'll do is a lot of these have busted cheekbones just from being bashed around. So I'll try to find one that still has its cheekbones intact. I may have to repaint it and stuff. We'll just mount one of these to the top of the pole, and then we can hang some raffia grass or something underneath it. On this crossbeam bar here, I did a light sand, and I'm going over it with a clear. And I'm only doing this because it's just been outside for so long. It's so dirty that it's like, I don't know. I just thought it'd be a little cleaner and easier to wipe off if it was clear coated. Because this will be in Harrison's room, but it could end up being like an outside decoration and stuff. So, only thing is I don't necessarily like it all shiny, but maybe I can go over it with some sandpaper and rough it back up. Hey, you did such a great job on this. It looks pretty good. And you know what? You didn't get a whole lot of paint on you. Oh, you gonna paint the sawhorses?
Yeah.
Okay. We got the base coat all finished. We didn't miss a spot on accident. I think I'm gonna cut that off because this thing looks a little tall to be going in the living room. Harrison, what are we making?
We're making a giraffe, yellow giraffe, and then we're gonna do brown spots.
Yes, we are gonna do some brown spots, and this is gonna be for your Adventureland. Hey, there's a foot on the ground. Where did that come from?
I think it comes from a person.
Oh, it came from a person. Was that your last victim?
No, I don't know.
That's your haunted house decoration, isn't it? This is Harrison's little haunted house. It's seen better days. The weather's kind of gotten to it the last few days. He's got a little cauldron in there, and we'll have to show him what it looked like before the storm. The other thing I'm going to do is, now that I'm looking at this thing, it looks a little too perfectly round on the end, so I'm going to use a sanding disc and kind of just square it off a little bit, make it look a little more rustic. So now that that's all chiseled up and rustic looking, it's time to put on a little bit of Gina's vinegar and steel wool mixture to age it up. Hey, helper, what's going on there?
It's a boat.
It's a boat. We just gotta age it up. We gotta make this log look very old.
No, we have to let this one be a giraffe.
Hey, how come you're not helping? Hey, what's going on? You slacking?
No,
Where's your paintbrush?
that is.
You're aging the brush before you age the log? Alright, so while my watered down white paint is drying on this guy, I've started already pre-drilling all my holes on this cross beam. I used a Forstner bit here in the center to countersink my bolts. I'm going to just lag it to the upright. Same thing on the side here. I've got some small lag bolts holding the top section. And then you can see I've already got one bolted over here. I'm just using a little through bolt with some large washers to catch that big ring that's at the top of the lantern here. And then what I'm going to do is I've got the rope running down, and it's going to wrap all around all this stuff right here. Also the power cord all the way up, and then the idea is that I'm going to try to pinch it in between the bolt and the flat stock against the wood, and the power cord will be on the top, just wound up in there. And then to get this rope tight, I'm just going to use like a drywall screw or something on the top where you can't see it. Alright, so the other thing I'm working on that I didn't film is I grabbed one of our plaster skulls and I started to cut the circle in the bottom of it so that it'll set on top of the log like the ones do at Disneyland. And to do this, I just used several different size hole saws, cut a bunch of rings, and then I took chisels and carefully chiseled out all the little pieces. Now what I'll do is I'll just drill a hole straight through to the top, and I can use a lag screw or a bolt or something to hold it to the top of the log. I plan on repainting it and maybe chipping out another couple teeth and clear coating it so it'll be waterproof. Over here I've got the rope all finished. I've got it just setting on the pole right there. But I tried to match the reference as much as possible. They did a really nice job making them different so that it wasn't like they were all the same. So now the next thing to do is, before I screw this down, I want to get my skull finished, put on there, and then I've got some raffia grass that I'm going to hang down and see if it covers this pretty well to determine the height. And then I'll probably wrap some rope or something around there. I don't have any red raffia grass like in the picture, but Gina got this little witch from a garage sale. I'm just gonna take her orange raffia and that natural raffia and see if I can use that around the top. There's a little Halloween cobweb nest though that I gotta get out of there. That'll be fun. Harrison and I had painted this thing a little too bright yellow, so I found a little bit darker yellow and I repainted the pole. Now I've started the brown spots. I'm gonna go back over with a little bit of sandpaper and kind of rough up the paint a little bit, make it look worn, and maybe get rid of some of the sharp edges of the spots. You can see how I quickly just drew out a few spots in pencil, and I'm not being too careful painting in the spots because, again, I plan on going back and sanding a lot of this. Plus, if there was ever a spot that I didn't like, I could always go back over it with the other color. This looks giraffe enough for the project. It's actually starting to look like a Jeffrey light pole from Toys R Us. I'm seeing spots. Once the brown spots have dried, I give it a light sand to make it look old and worn look. I also go around making sure there's no splintery edges and that it's safe for a little guy to be around. I have all these pieces of scrap wood that I've been using to brace this thing up. I think I'm gonna make a base out of 4 of these. I just drew in a shape right there and I'm actually just cutting it out, and then this is what it looks like afterwards. I'll shoot it together now with a staple gun and some glue, slide it on over the end of this, and then just put some screws through it. Put the last screw in and that's it. Here is the finished product. I connected a dimmer to the lights to give it that same flickering effect you see at Disneyland. I added some more rope to give it that extra detail. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's cool because there's several different ways you can dress the raffia grass. Here we have it tied under the skull. You could also put some on top of the skull. This base ended up supporting the post really well. I even painted over the power poles and the straps to help them disappear and blend in with the back of the post. This is a great prop to start our Adventureland area, but now we're gonna need to make many more items to make it feel more complete. Well, that's it, guys. Let us know what you think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
We are now entering the last part of our video. Shh. It's a bad place to be headed.
Hey, honey, you know that new diet you got me on? I think it's working. Look, Harrison, the backside of water.
Our views have been shrinking lately, so we've got a deal for you. 3 for 1. 3 of our heads for 1 of yours. Subscriptions, that is. What were you thinking?
Mommy, why makes my head so little? Where's my body?
We're still waiting. We're just gonna hang out here until you do. Sure could use a Dole Whip right about now.